So what? Does this mean we're about to get the third reboot of Spider-Man within the last 20 years or so? I don't even know what to say about this. So yesterday, I thought it was going to be a normal day. I was getting dressed on my way to see Ready or Not and then head to work after that. And then the news dropped that completely caused the internet to go into a frenzy. That Spider-Man is no longer going to be part of the MCU. What the fuck? So the article dropped on Deadline, and I'll leave the link in the description box below in case you haven't read it. But basically, because of the success of Spider-Man Far From Home being the first Spider-Man movie to gross over $1 billion, Disney and Sony have been renegotiating their contract. And according to the article on Deadline, Disney now wants a 50-50 share of the Spider-Man box office. And for those of you that don't know, Spider-Man, in terms of film rights, is completely owned by Sony Pictures. But because Sony Pictures were going through their bankruptcy and hard times a couple years ago, and the fact that Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't make as much money as they hoped it made, plus all the Sony leaks that happened as well, they decided to do a partnership with Marvel to have Spider-Man appear in the MCU. Part of that deal was that Marvel Studios would get all the merchandising rights to Spider-Man and that they would get a 5% kickback of all the box office, but Sony would be the ones to completely finance the movie and they would get 95% of all the profits. And of course, they still get to keep the rights to the character. Well, like I said, because of the success of Spider-Man Far From Home, Disney came to the negotiating table like, look, we now want more of a share and a stake in these movies, because ultimately at the end of the day, Disney and Marvel want all their properties back. The whole reason that Marvel sold their properties to all these other studios was because they were going bankrupt and they wanted to basically be able to sustain their company. But now that they're under the larger umbrella of Disney, they don't need that anymore. So again, as you can imagine, the internet flipped out, myself included. Now there are calls to boycott Sony. So now Sony's coming out with a statement to basically have some damage control, and this is what they said. Much of today's news about Spider-Man has mischaracterized recent discussions about Kevin Feige's involvement in the franchise. We are disappointed, but respect Disney's decision not to have him continue as a lead producer of our next live-action Spider-Man film. We hope this might change in the future, but understand that the many new responsibilities that Disney has given him, including all their newly added Marvel properties, do not allow time for him to work on IP they do not own. Kevin is terrific, and we are grateful for his help and guidance and appreciate the path he has helped put us on, which we will continue. Yeah, no, I'm not feeling this. And so naturally, because the majority of people want Spider-Man to stay within the MCU, everybody's blaming Sony. Jeremy Renner even released a post on Instagram calling Sony out, saying we want Spider-Man to stay in the MCU. You got Tom Holland's dad tweeting save Spider-Man. Apparently, according to Heroic Hollywood, Tom Holland unfollowed Sony's Instagram account. But the real question is it really Sony's fault? I don't think it is. Sony is completely willing to work with Marvel with the current deal that they have. They finance the majority of the movie, and Disney Marvel gets a 5% kickback. But again, Disney now wants 50%. Basically, this is like a meme that I posted on my Instagram.
You said they'd be left in the city under my supervision.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
That's basically Disney. Sony is like, wait, we already have an arrangement. What's going on? And Disney's coming in basically being greedy. And honestly, I can understand and see both sides to this equation. Like on Sony's end, Sony bought Spider-Man fair and square. It's their property. They can do whatever they want with it. Yes, they've proven for the most part that they can't really do a good Spider-Man movie for the last couple of years. When you think about what they did with The Amazing Spider-Man and even Spider-Man 3. But at the same time, take with it what you will, but Venom, which I didn't really like that movie, but regardless, Venom made almost $1 billion. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse won them an Oscar. The Spider-Man game for PS4 was the biggest selling superhero game of all time. And so, it's not like they haven't had any success with their Spider-Man properties. But on the flip side, you really think Spider-Man Far From Home would have grossed $1 billion, thusly becoming the biggest grossing Spider-Man movie ever had it not been connected to the MCU, had it not been the very next movie after Avengers Endgame, which is the #1 grossing movie of all time? Of course not. But again, I feel like it's a case of Disney being greedy. It's not like Disney needs the money. Disney is the only company in the world that has had 5 movies in 1 year to reach $1 billion. And by the end of this year, it's more than likely going to be 7 once Frozen 2 and Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker comes out. And on top of that, to go from 5% to 50%, that's a huge leap. Like, if anything, Disney should have went to the negotiation table and increased what they wanted in profits in increments. Like, instead of 5% for this movie, maybe for the next movie, say 10%. And then at a certain point when they're like 7 movies in, then go, hey, Sony, we want 50% of the take. So in many ways, like, I completely understand Sony going like, no, especially considering this is really their only franchise. But really, at the end of the day, Disney has all the leverage, because truth of the matter is, yes, in terms of the fans, we'll be very upset to not see Spider-Man within the MCU, but they don't need Spider-Man in the MCU. But I would argue that Sony does, because I feel like the interest in the Spider-Man character will completely drop off if Spider-Man's not within the MCU. That's the thing that reinvigorated people's interest in Spider-Man in the first place after the Andrew Garfield movies. But regardless of whose fault it is, this is a disaster, and they need to get their shit together, because I really want to see more Spider-Man and Tom Holland within the MCU. But anyway, what do you guys think about this news? Do you think Sony's more to blame, or do you think Disney's more to blame? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can, please hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out the channel. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I'll catch you guys next time.